Thanks for tuning in to our Kentucky Derby special edition of Playbook Sports Horse Report on Prime Sports Network. I'm Greg DePalma along with Jon Hardoon from the Sheets. John, how you doing from Las Vegas?
Good. A little tired, but it's all right.
And
got to rally today. If you don't rally today, you're in trouble.
That's right. And Mark Lawrence, of course, from Playbook Sports, coming to us live from South Florida.
Sunny South Florida. Yes, I am, Greg. Just after taking in the NFL draft on Thursday night, all excited about the weekend in the Kentucky Derby, and I hope your horses aren't as tired as you are today.
Don't worry. They're ready to go.
All right, let's get started with the Kentucky Derby. Kentucky Oaks, that's going to come up after our Derby preview. And then John's going to have his selection of the week, which actually is going to be for the card today in Kentucky at Churchill Downs. And by the way, John, there's been a lot of rain in the area, as you mentioned to me off the air. But you're saying it's going to be a fast track.
Yeah, it rained the last 2 days, and it rained a lot. But Churchill Downs is like no other track in the world. It dries out faster than anybody today. It's fast and firm, so that's all good news. No excuses for anybody. Let's go, and let's make some money.
Let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna start with the one known agenda, the 6-1 shot, who gets a really bad position. Only once has the number one won the Kentucky Derby, and that was actually a while ago. You have to go back to 1964. Only once since 1964. That was Ferdinand in 1986 that won from this position. But John, there's a new way that they're setting up the position. So talk a little bit about that, and that might be a little bit of help to the one.
Well, we don't really know if the rail's going to, well, let's put it this way. You never want to be on the inside when you have 19 horses outside of you, because you're going to have to make a decision at the start, and you're going to have to use your horse to get position, because if you don't, you get shuffled into oblivious. You're just going to get shuffled back and have to pass 17 of them. But this year they did something new. They finally joined the 21st century, and they thought of making a starting gate that has 20 slots in it. Usually they had an auxiliary gate, which they attached to the regular starting gate, because they don't run 20 race horse fields the rest of the year. The only time they'll run it is either in the Breeders' Cup or in the Kentucky Derby, right? So what they did is they actually built a starting gate that has 20 stalls in it. So all this post position nonsense that you never won from the 16 or you never won from the 17, whatever it is, really goes out the window this year, because when you had the 17 in the old days, it was more like the 20, because, there was a gate, there was another auxiliary gate attached. So that space now is filled. And, so take all those stats for the most part and throw them out. The reason that the one is still probably not good is because of what I told you. You have to use your horse too hard going into the first turn to get position. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and if you look at it, out of the top 6 horses, there's no doubt that Known Agenda, that he's the cream of the crop inside. Unfortunately, he's got the one position. And it's unfortunate, because if you look at his sheet numbers this year, 15, 9, 7, that's exactly what you want to see. He wins a big race at the Florida Derby. He's got Pletcher. He's got the best jockey in the world, earnings-wise, several years running. So, and Ortiz has never won the Derby before. So Mark and I are still going to give him a shot, and I am going to give him a shot, especially because of the new setup. But he's not going to be my top pick because of the setup. What do you think? You're just going to throw him out completely, John?
Well, the problem I have with him really is the odds. If he was a big price, obviously I would use him. But I think you have better options that have better post positions at a lot longer odds. So it's strictly a value. Again, it's an anti-value play for me. So for that reason, I'm not using him.
Mark?
Can he get in? Of course he could get in. But again, there's no value in using him.
Mark?
Well, I think, with Todd Pletcher having 4 horses in the race and his best rider up here on this horse, Irad, hungry for the win, as you said, Greg. I love this new 20 post stall that they're coming out of. I think it won't be like it was in the past. But, John, I'm going to go back to what you said. You can talk about post positions and never won and all these things, and it's been that long. The bottom line is, how many of those horses were this horse in that race? How many horses were of the ability of known agenda that ran out of the one hole? We don't know that.
Good point.
Okay, this is a different race altogether here. I'm playing the horse. I'm going to play Pletcher. I'm going to have him my ticket. I'm not going to have him win, but I'm going to have him on the ticket for sure.
All right. So we both, Mark and I, have known agenda on our ticket at 6-1. Now the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6. Out of those long shots, John, any of those that you would even consider?
Yeah, well, look at the 6 horse, Obesos. I mean, he hasn't done anything really wrong. He's lightly raced. He ran a big number last time out. If he repeats that race and makes a forward move off of it, he has somewhat of a shot to hit the board or certainly hit the super. He's not impossible, and he'll be of long price. That's the number 6, Obesos.
Yeah, matter of fact, if you looked at his race at the Louisiana Derby, he came on pretty strong there at the end. It was too late. Maybe if he had a little bit more distance, he might have made things interesting. But he was a game third to Hot Rod Charlie in the Louisiana Derby. And he had the 9, the Sheet 9, which was his best race.
Right. So it's 2 points away from the 1 with a better post position and also an improving kind of horse at the 4 times the price of the 1 horse.
Mark, any long shots that you were considering in that space?
Well, those first
2 to 6.
Yeah, those first 4 you mentioned, Greg, are all the 50-1 long shots, and John hits on Obesos 20-1. He's probably got the most realistic shot of hitting the board of that group that you mentioned here. He won his maiden, and then an allowance condition after that. He's raced 2 times in graded stakes. He ran a 3rd and a 4th. He'd be the horse out of that group that has the chance, I feel, as John does, to make some money and hit the board.
And then just quickly, Like the King, won that JR Stakes Grade 3 race. And again, people don't realize this. That was a 100-point Kentucky Derby prep race. And I don't think, I didn't know it. So not that there were great horses in the field, John, but just to let everybody know exactly, that was an important prep race for Like the King. But, he finished with an 11 in that race, which was his all-time best. And now it's a synthetic track, correct?
That's the problem. He didn't do it on the dirt. He did it on a different surface. It's like winning a race on the turf and expecting to get the same results on the dirt. Doesn't work that way. You could be a turf horse, you could be a dirt horse, or in this case, you could be a synthetic horse.
Brooklyn Strong gets Rispoli on board. It was nice. We talked about that last week. It was nice to see Rispoli get a ride. But
he's going to get a ride, but he's going to need a cab to catch the field. So
yeah, and it was disappointing too, because his sheet line was really good last year, and he had a very disappointing Wood Memorial. Otherwise, we would have considered him this week.
Well, the reason you could maybe draw a line through that race, because if you see the 2 sideways dots there on the sheet, Greg, that means that the track was very deep and heavy. So a lot of the numbers that day were slow because of the track surface. So you could a lot of times excuse a bad effort. The problem I have with this horse is that the 9 that he did run last year was on a sloppy track. So, he made a big jump up. He ran a 5-point new top when hitting a wet track for the first time. Could have been the wet surface.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it. And Keep the Mind hasn't shown anything except the 8 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile race, and that's it. He had a 14 in the Bluegrass. Sainthood, that's another Pletcher horse. He hasn't shown anything but a 13 in that stakes race at Turfway Park his last time out. All right, let's go to Mandalon. This is going to be my top pick. Mandalon, the 15-1 shot. Before the Louisiana Derby, this was clearly a top, one of the horses to look at as a potential favorite for this race. So he has a very disappointing Derby. When you look at the race coming down the stretch, it looked to me that Garreau, who's on board, maybe he knew the horse didn't have anything in him. It just didn't look like he was giving the horse anything. It was like, all right, we're just going to sit back here. We were already in the Derby. I'm not going to push the horse any. And he gets into the Derby. This is a horse that went from even money favorite, 2-1 favorite, even money favorite. Now I'm getting 15-1 off of one bad race. Cox is an excellent trainer. I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe I got a bargain here at 15-1, John.
Well, listen, Brad Cox has the favorite in the race in Essential Quality, and he has this horse in the race. Essential Quality is undefeated and everything else that goes with it. The problem I have with Mandalon is maybe the distance.
Okay.
Last race was the first time that he was asked to, and now he's asked to go even a further distance. So that's my concern. But you make good points. There was no reason to push the horse that day. He was in the Derby already. He had enough points. Take it easy on the horse, give him a light race. No reason to squeeze him and push him, because we saw what happened to other horses that tried to squeeze and push. They never made it to the Derby. We were talking about the McGahey horse, Code of Honor, even the Baffert horse, Concertor. Those horses aren't here today because they pushed that day. This horse didn't. Maybe that was the reason. And listen, he has a chance, but I think, you have better options at the same price.
Yeah, and he's 15-1. And again, his sheet line was 18-12, 10-8, and then the disappointing 13 in the Louisiana Derby. He does have a win in one appearance at Churchill as well, so that's not bad. Medina Spirit is the 8 horse, another 15-1 shot. This is Baffert's horse. Baffert and Velazquez. This has not been a good season, Mark, for Bob Baffert. So that's kind of the reason why I don't like the way the Medina Spirit has been running either. I just feel like this just isn't Bob Baffert's year, Mark.
You got horses side by side in Mandalon and Medina Spirit here, and I'm with you, Greg. I like Mandalon better than I do Medina Spirit here. I'm not impressed with the horse. I know he's done nothing but hit the board. I don't see anything special out of this horse. We knew it was not Baffert's best horse coming into the Derby trail. The only one that survived and made it here. I'm not into this horse at all. And if I had to play either of these two horses we just talked about, it would be Mandalon ahead of Medina Spirit.
What do you think?
If I can go downstairs and find a matchup bet, Medina Spirit against Mandalon, I would take probably Mandalon. And don't say that Baffert didn't have a good year, because until 6 weeks ago, he had 4 of the first 5 choices in the Derby.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. It's been bad luck.
He had a bad 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He doesn't have bad years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Bad 6 weeks. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. So what do you think? The horse ran a 7 at the Sham, but he's got.
The problem is he never came back to that 7. That's negative to me. And listen, you're spending a lot of time on a horse. You're giving respect to Baffert. That would be the only reason to consider the horse, honestly.
All right, now let's go with Hot Rod Charlie. This is a horse that you're going to put into your exacta. Hot Rod Charlie, Pratt, and O'Neill. O'Neill's got 2 Kentucky Derby wins. Pratt's coming off a Derby win. Rosario was on board the last time out. What's interesting about this situation here is that the last time that Hot Rod Charlie raced, O'Neill was not on the premises, I guess, training the horse, and Pratt wasn't there. It was Rosario. So the horse goes out, wins the race. Now O'Neill goes back, and he's there. And I'm just saying, we know O'Neill's training the horse on a regular basis, but I'm just saying he was not there because during that race, it was what? Is that like one of his assistants? Leandro?
Well, that is his leading. That's his number 1 man, yeah. Leandro Moore. What happened was he was serving days. He was on some sort of suspension.
Okay.
So it still was Doug O'Neill. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was ironic that he wasn't there and neither was Pratt. And now both Pratt and O'Neill are going to take over. But anyway, Hot Rod Charlie had one of his best races at the right time, winning the Louisiana Derby. He ran a 9 in that race.
What I like about this horse is if you look at his sheet closely, he's really never done anything wrong. Last year as a 2-year-old, he ran a 23 on the dirt. Then he had 2 turf races, ran a 12 on the dirt, then ran the 7. Now this year he comes out, runs the 11 on that double dot sidewood thing I was telling you about, slow tracks. So you could excuse that race. So I'm seeing 7 better than 11, 9, and he has that 7 to go back to as a 2-year-old, which is strong. Okay. This horse has every right to run the 7 tomorrow, and if he does, that's going to put him in the thick of things, and he's going to be a price. He's he's 8-1. He'll probably be at least that price, and it'll probably be a lot longer.
Yeah, that's what I like the most about the horse. Definitely is the price. You're getting a good price on a horse that seems to be peaking at the right time.
Right.
All right. By the way, what about? Do you like Hot Rod Charlie, Mark?
I do like him. I think he's really, really legit, given the fact that he's won over $1 million coming into the race. He won the Louisiana Derby. My biggest concern, as you mentioned, Greg, is he loses Rosario, and I think that could be a factor in the race. Why I don't have him up on the top, but I think he will factor into this race. Yes.
All right, next up is the 10, Midnight Bourbon. And John, you and I both like Midnight Bourbon in our exactas at 20-1. This is Asmussen and Mike Smith. Asmussen is clearly the best trainer in the world to have never won the Kentucky Derby. He's been dominating as a trainer the last couple of years, but he's got to get a Kentucky Derby win, I'm sure he feels, in order to put him in a completely different category. Anyway, Mike Smith's on board, so you get the upgrade there. The sheet line over the last 4 races, John, 17, 11, 10, 9. So it's incrementally nice. If you can keep that up and put out maybe an all-time best 7 or a 6, then why not? He's 20-1, and like I said, he also gets Mike Smith on board.
Well, when you're playing the Derby and when you're running in the Derby, you always want a horse moving in the right direction. Not a horse coming off a bad effort, not a horse that has excuses coming in. And this horse, he just keeps moving forward. Another forward move is certainly possible, and the price is certainly right. So out of all the 20-1 shots that we've seen so far, this one to me makes a lot of sense.
All right, the other 20-1 shot, Dynamic One, I got screwed out of by the long shot, that 70-1 Bourbonic in the Wood Memorial. Anyway, he finished second in that race, so it was a solid second. He ran a 10. He also has a 7 to go back to at Gulfstream Park. Ortiz is on board. It's another Pletcher horse. So this is a horse that, you know what, when I'm, because I always will take about $6 or $8 in the Derby and throw a couple bucks here, a couple bucks here. So this is going to be one of those horses that I'll just throw a couple of bucks on.
Well, he certainly has his chance. He had 2 sidewood dot races, his last 2 races. So that's that deep, heavy track. So if you want to make excuses for them, you certainly can. As far as I'm concerned, I would, if I'm betting tries and supers, obviously I would include a horse like this, especially at the price, due to the fact that he does have that 7 as a 2-year-old. And I always like horses that have big numbers as a 2-year-old and have a chance to come back to them. Okay. That's important to me, and especially if you're getting value, and that's the case here.
Yeah, 20-1 with Pletcher, you definitely want to keep an eye on that. The other 2 horses, Helium and Hidden Stash. Now, I'm actually going to throw Helium into my exactas as well. I know it's a long shot. I get that. Mark Case is an underrated trainer. I think it's been 11 years running that Mark Case has been in the top 10 earnings and trainer, and nobody talks about him. The horse is coming off his best result. That was an 11 in the Tampa Bay Derby. First time he was on dirt. If you looked at the race, he was really wide. He was like 4 wide for about a quarter of the race. So to see him do that and then to come down the stretch the way that he did, I was kind of impressed by that first time on dirt. So I figured, good trainer. He gets an upgrade with the jock. He's 50-1. He hasn't lost yet. Why not? I'll throw him in there and maybe he'll hit the board.
He's not on my tickets. He has yet to run a single digit, and that's what I had.
Yeah, he had an 11. That's all he did.
Yeah. But what you said, he was 4 wide. When they make the number, ground loss goes into it. So he got a lot of credit for that 11 for being 4 and 5 wide throughout the race.
By the way, Mark, out of the 11, the 12, and the 13, anything there?
Well, I know Helium, the 12, hasn't hit a single digit, as John says, but this horse, he's got Julian Laperoux up. He's the 4th different jock on this horse in 4 races. He's a perfect 3 for 3. And you've got Case looking for this elusive Kentucky Derby victory. The last time he raced here with Classic Empire, he got clobbered in the start. He's got Helium and Soup and Sandwich in both of these 2 races here. One of these 2 horses could end up being that ugly horse that blows up every exacta or trifecta that people look at here. I think he's worth a look, Helium. Not to go too deep with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he blows up some tickets.
All right, now Essential Quality, the 14, is the heavy favorite, and why not? I mean, the sheets are just awesome. He's got the 5 for 5. He's got the hot trainer. He's got the hot rider. I mean, this is everything you're looking for. Unfortunately, he's 2-1 in a 20-horse field, John.
Well, he's going to go off longer than 2-1 because the favorite will probably be, 3-1, 7-2. Okay. Mattress Mac, that the guy from Texas, the furniture maker that owned Run Happy, already announced that he's betting $3 million to win on this horse because he has some promotion in his furniture store. That $3 million win bet that he's making on this horse will protect. If you bought it's a crazy thing, but if you bought a mattress for $3,000 and this horse wins, he refunds you the $3,000. So he does things like that. Last year when the Houston Astros made the World Series, he bet like $8 million on them. He's an eccentric guy. He's good for the game. He does a lot of good things for charity. So he's betting $3 or $4 million, whatever it is, on this horse. So it's going to affect the odds somewhat, but it is Derby Day. So if you're ever going to make a bet like that, I guess that's the day to do it. Listen, you can't knock the horse. He hasn't done anything wrong. But, I have a problem betting a favorite in a 20-horse field.
And Mark, I know this is your top pick, but and I want to say this. Remember, we were going back talking about the one of the horses that was having to, my horse, Mandalon, that saved himself in a race that he wasn't going to win. I really felt, this is the reason why I'm a little bit skeptical about Essential Quality. Everything else I love is that he gave it his all to win that last race. And will that take out of him anything the way that... Now, look, again, great horse, but I'm just a little bit maybe concerned with how hard he had to fight to win that last race.
Well, that's a factor. There's no question about that, because you don't want to see a horse spent the race before the Derby, as you mentioned here. I think Luis Saez being up on this horse, he was DQ'd, remember, on maximum security. So he's got this big chip on his shoulder about wanting to win this particular race. You've got no Louisville trainer has ever won the Derby, and you've got that working against Brad Cox here in this race as well. So he's got two horses here. So whether he can overcome that jinx remains to be seen. The last horse that did win a Kentucky Derby out of this hole was Carryback back in 1961. So he's got a lot of hurdles, if you will, in front of this horse. But I feel this horse is the horse to beat. I've been on him since race number 2 of his career, and he progressed every race other than the race where he barely beat Highly Motivated. I still think he's the horse to beat in this race.
Well, just so you guys should know something, you're thinking like he was abused to win that race. This horse did it all on his own. He's got a heart, and he refused to be beaten. Sure. So, you can look at it from that way too. Yeah, don't think that they emptied the tank in that race. The horse did it on his own. He's undefeated. And, good horses know when they win races, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
And he refused to get beat.
Can't
he's
take
got
anything away from that performance. That was a gutsy performance.
Right. So he's got the heart of it.
Hey, John, let me say one thing here about Mattress Mac, his story, which is really, really unusual to say the least. I love the fact that he's betting the money on track at Churchill, not at a sports book. Okay, he's pouring it right back into the industry, which I really, really like what it is that he's doing. I just had to send out that little comment.
No question about it.
All right, now next up is Rock Your World, the second favorite at 5-1. This is the 15. Rosario on board. Sadler looking for a Kentucky Derby win. Gets the win in the Santa Anita Derby. And Rock Your World, 3 for 3. But, he only ran that 9 in the Santa Anita Derby, and that was the race where you had Medina Spirit, and we talked about that. It's been a disappointing run from Medina Spirit. So at 5-1, if I was going to take one of the favorites, I'd rather just, like you said, John, if Essential Quality is going to back up to 3 or close to 4-1, I'd just rather go with Essential Quality.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with the line, but there's a few things going against this horse. Remember, Justify's the only horse that didn't run at 2 that won the Derby. This horse didn't run at 2. Not only that, this horse, while the line is nice, the sheet line is nice, there's no value in playing this horse unless, you don't want this horse at 5-1.
No.
That's my opinion. Yep. Of course, he's off the line. He's eligible to improve and get in, but there's no value in my opinion.
Hey, John, if this horse doesn't win the Santa Anita Derby, runs second, we're not even talking about 5-1 here. We're talking about a horse that makes this race, and he's 15-1, okay? But because he wins the Santa Anita Derby, you're paying a price here.
Another thing you should know about the Santa Anita Derby, that day speed was it was a big edge being on in the front that day. Speed in the rail was the place to be. So I don't know how real the number is. As far as I'm concerned, it may have been bias aided.
Okay, next up is King Fury in a sloppy Lexington track with a win. His best race was a 9, but he's got 3 starts at Churchill. But the fact is, if you look at it, he raced against Essential Quality twice. He finished 7th and 8th. So unless it rains again, no chance for King Fury, right?
Even if it rains, it's not going to help him. He's got no shit.
All right, highly motivated. John's top pick. Also, Mark Lawrence likes highly motivated. He's going to put highly motivated into his exactas, coming off that runner-up at the Bluegrass to Essential Quality. Essential Quality tracked him down. So that was a gutsy second place for highly motivated, getting 10-1. Chad Brown looking for his first Kentucky Derby win. Castellano, the same. He's coming off 3 straight 8s on the sheet lines. So 3rd in the Gotham, 2nd in the Bluegrass. John, you think he's going 1st in the Derby?
Well, if you put his sheet next to Essential Quality sheet, they look a lot alike, don't they?
Except for that last race, which Essential Quality barely beat him.
Except for the last race where, beat him.
Yep.
Now, let's say Essential Quality makes a slightly backward move and my horse makes a slightly forward move. I'm going to win. And my horse is 10-1, and that horse is 2-1. Strictly an odds play, because I consider them equal. I really do. There was a nose between them. Why not take the horse that's 5 times the price? It's simple math. And I understand the 17 posters never won or whatever you're going to throw at me. But I told you, I'm throwing all those stats out the window with the new starting gate. So it's really a no-brainer in my opinion. And listen, if you look at this horse's career, he's had 5 starts. He's never gone backwards. Every race is better than the previous one. And that's the case for tomorrow. And therefore, he's my top selection.
Mark?
I concur 100% with everything John just said about this horse. You've also got Chad Brown and Castellano. That's a really, really nice combination here. I see this race being the Bluegrass redo, the same race we saw the last time. Essential Quality just edging out highly motivated in a 1-2 photo type finish here. I think this horse is really moving forward, as John says, and he has to be played. I looked long and hard at him to beat Essential Quality, but I couldn't jump off the horse that I've been on since the get-go.
You're loyal, and you're thinking with your heart, and I'm thinking with my brain.
I understand.
And there's nothing wrong with being loyal, Mark.
All right.
I'm a real loyal guy, I'll tell you that.
18, 19, and 20 are all 30-1 shots. Super Stock, Soup and Sandwich, and Bourbonic. Bourbonic stole the Wood Memorial. We talked about that. And he ran at 12 in the race. Soup and Sandwich had a very good 7 in the Florida Derby. He was runner-up in that race. And Super Stock is coming off a win at the Arkansas Derby with another underrated rider, Santana, Ricardo Santana Jr. Stephen Asmussen, this is his 2nd ride. Out of those 3 horses, that's the 2nd horse. Out of those 3 horses, John, which do you prefer?
Super Stock. This horse is partially owned by Asmussen's parents. So this horse is a family kind. It's in the family. And I love Ricardo Santana. He's one of the best riders in the country, and he's underrated, like you said. But he's as good as anyone there is. Listen, he's 30-1. I don't think he's going to get in. You got plenty of horses that are going to run better. Yeah. But you asked me between the 3 of them, I would play Super Stock.
Yeah, I think he's like one of those horses I mentioned before that I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple of bucks to see if he can get in to my exactas. But Super Stock at 30-1. Again, Asmussen Santana. That's a great combo. Mark? Who would you go with? Because I know that Soup and Sandwich was a horse that you liked in the Florida Derby, and he finished 2nd. So being so loyal, are you going to go with Soup and Sandwich as a long shot potential?
We'll play that loyalty card here again, Greg. Why not? In the Florida Derby, interesting thing that I picked up and learned that the horse, despite running so well, leading most of the way, did not switch leads, and supposedly. The trainers really worked on him in that way for this particular race. So if this horse is race ready, okay, we could see him move forward from that particular race. And if we do, he has to be a factor.
All right. So once again, my top pick is the 7 Mandalon. John's top pick is going to be the 10 Highly Motivated, and Mark's going to go with Essential Quality. Since you have the favorite, Mark, who is your top second choice?
Well, we had Highly Motivated underneath him. Okay.
So that's your exacta, Essential Quality, Highly Motivated.
Right.
Okay.
No agenda, my third horse. Yeah.
All righty. Yes. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Kentucky Oaks. This is going to be a 1 1/8 mile race. It is going to go off at a little before 6 on Friday. It's a pretty good race, John. I've taken a look at the sheets, taking a look at the quality of the horses, what they've done. It's not a bad race.
It's not a bad race. There's a horse. I like a long-priced horse and a short-priced horse in the race, to tell you the truth. I'm against Malhat, who's 4 for 4. I think she's coming back close today. I think she has an opportunity to react off of her last race. So the way that I'm attacking the race is I'm trying to beat her. The horse which I like best in the race is Travel Column, but the horse with the best value in the race is the 4 Crazy Beautiful. Those were the 2 horses that I was leaning towards. Crazy Beautiful is an interesting horse to me because she's 15 to 1 and because she has an 11 as a 2-year-old, which is strong. And she came back this year and ran the 11 as well. I think she's ready to make a forward move. Travel Column has never done anything wrong, and I think she has a shot to repeat. That's the also a Brad Cox horse. So we're going to find out how Cox's weekend is going to start today. If this horse if this horse shows up and runs well, that only bodes well for Essential Quality tomorrow.
Well, it actually also bodes well for Mandalon because that's Cox and Guro.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's the 3 to 1 shot, but your top bargain is the 15 to 1 shot, Crazy Beautiful. And if you take a look at Crazy Beautiful, he's got the 11 in the last race. That was the win. And you take a look at it, second, he had 1 bad race, second and first, and that's pretty solid when you're considering grade 2s and grade 1 races. So, and he's 15 to 1.
Right.
Mark, your top pick is going to be Search Results. That's the 3 to 1 shot. That's Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz coming off back-to-back 11s, 3 for 3 overall. You also like the 5 to 2 shot. And your top bargain is going to be Pass the Champagne at 15 to 1.
Yeah, I like the Chad Brown horse here. Irad replaces his brother Jose here. He's 1 for 1 at the distance, which I think would help the horse here tremendously. And the other horse that you mentioned, Pass the Champagne, the long shot, he lost by a head to Malahat in the Ashland. He's had 4 different jockeys in 4 different races here. I think the horse for the price is worth a long, long look here. There's a story also that's taking place at Churchill this particular weekend about Rispoli. This horse, this poor jockey, he was bumped off of a horse in the Oaks and he's bumped off of a horse in the Derby, okay? But he's found races, horses to ride nonetheless. So we'll see if he ends up with a double chip on his shoulder, Rispoli. He's on the 8 horse, or off of this 8 horse in this particular race. Flavian Prat replaces him. But there's a story there with Rispoli, I think, getting unjustly taken off of 2 horses.
All right. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and do an Asmussen double. I'm going to go with the 1 and the 3. The 5 to 1 shot, Clear, and the 20 to 1 shot, Pauline's Pearl. The sheet line is excellent, 20, 15, 15, 14, 11. So hopefully I get the next step there. And Shire, also coming off an 11, has never been worse than first or second, including 2 races at Churchill. So I'll go with the 1 and the 3. All right, so that's Kentucky Derby. That's Kentucky Oaks. Now, before we let you go, Jon Hardoon is going to give you his free pick of the week. This is going to be for Friday's card at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, we're going to look at the 5th race today. It's a 1 1/8 mile on the turf, and I like the number 4 horse in here, Ever Dangerous. This is a 4-year-old colt from the George Weaver barn. This horse goes back on Lasix today. He's been running well. He's been improving with each start, and the fact that he's back on Lasix today and you're getting 5 to 1, I think number 4, Ever Generous, is a fair play in today's 5th race out at Churchill.
All right, John. Appreciate it. Right. I know you're busy. Enjoy the rest of your Vegas trip, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay. Thanks. Stay well, everybody. Be safe and enjoy your Derby Oaks weekend and try to make some money. Thanks, guys.
Knock them dead at the seminar. Have a good weekend, okay?
Bye-bye.
Take care, Mark.